Welcome to a new Harry's Garage video. This is part 3 of this Lotus Emira trip. We're now in Milan, and last night was the Pirelli calendar launch for 2023. Big bash, huge fun, crazy venue, etc. Today is all about Pagani, because it's about 2.25 hours from here down the Autostrada to Pagani Automobile, and I'm meeting Christopher Pagani there. This is Horacio's son, for a sort of tour around the Pagani factory to look at their new car, Utopia. I have not seen this in the metal until today, and I haven't actually been to the Pagani factory now for over 10 years, I'm ashamed to say, and it has been transformed recently. Huge business now. So, what to do now? Pack up my Emira, the bags are there, I'm going to pack up and then head down, and the next time you'll see us, we'll be at the Pagani factory. The size, the expansion is extraordinary. I haven't been here for, as I say, over 10 years, but my goodness, Pagani has gone places in that time. Here it is, the new factory. I wonder where I ought to go in there. That is staggering, absolutely staggering. Can't believe we're finally here. I've been wanting to come here for some time, and I can't get over, they've actually sort of put the cobbles down. If you went to the old Pagani factory, then they always had these cobblestones. You've probably seen that in the photographs of early Zondas. This is the museum though. This looks absolutely spectacular. This isn't, and what I'm going to do now is just go for a tour through the museum. This area here is actually the commissioning suite. There's a lucky gent in there commissioning his new car, so I'm going to swiftly go through here. Now this is the shop area. You can come here. This museum is actually open from, I'm going to say, 9 o'clock until 5 o'clock Monday to Friday, and then on Saturday mornings, where you can get your Pagani t-shirts and things. I can't believe Zonda, 20 years old. That's 2019, I suppose. If you come this way, there's a very special museum, and I love, again, the cobbles, all from that original factory. A sort of signature all the way through, running all through this factory. It's quite an interesting map here. Shows you the sort of motor valley, this Bologna region, and just all the manufacturing going on here, and the race teams, etc. It is quite extraordinary how many people are based here. So Lamborghini, San Agata up here, Maranello the other side of the Via Emilia down here, Maserati and Pagani right sat in the middle of them. Anyway, through here is the entrance to the museum. First thing you get to is a movie, sort of the history of Pagani, 12 minutes long, I'm told, to watch that. That's pretty spectacular. Yes, I haven't got time to watch 12 minutes of that, but through here is, and I remember seeing this racing car that Horacio did very early days. If you swing around, there is a very young Horacio Pagani when he first did car design, and this was his first project to try and make this Pagani Renault race car, and some other designs he did as well. And his great friend Fangio down there, who was very influential on a young Horacio. We'll get to that in a moment, but these are the early years of Horacio. I can remember this sat at, as I say, at the previous factory, and these models, they were in a little cabinet when he used to go to the old factory. He keeps everything, apparently, Horacio. He's as bad as me. So these are all the models he was making. This I had never seen before. This is Renault Dauphine and buggy, and apparently it was a coupe to begin with, and then he turned it into this buggy, one of his first design exercises. We come down here, we're still in Argentina here, and that I've never seen before, and that is a Pagani Caravan. It was a one-off, fortunately. Now this car, now this is known as Zonda La Nonna. So this is chassis number 2, and I have driven this car in all sorts of variations. This was basically the prototype test car. Whenever you visit the factory and they did a new iteration, this was the car that was improved to that spec, and we used to drive and they used to do development miles on it. And it became a bit of a running joke, so it used to ask how many kilometres has Nonno done. And this is fully transformed. I'm not sure what engine it ended up with in this one, but it's got the Cinque sort of air scoop on it. Anyway, now this car has covered 550,000 kilometres. I can remember driving it at about 300,000 kilometres. It's probably done another 250,000 kilometres since then. I think it's retired now because obviously the Zonda program is finished, but just great to see that. Next car, oh, I ought to just do this. This is where he came to Italy. Basically, he wanted to come here. He wanted to work in this Motor Valley, a young Horacio out in Argentina. And he helped, Fangio actually helped him to get it to the factories and get known to the manufacturers here. And there's some letters. Apparently there are 5 letters in all that Manuel Fangio wrote to Ferrari, to Lamborghini, to Di Tommaso, to Maserati. This is the one to Signor Enzo Ferrari wrote. Lamborghini initially replied and says, yes, come over, all excited. His girlfriend at the time, Christina, who became Mrs. Pagani, came over very young. But just before they were going to set off, they had a letter from Lamborghini saying, sorry, there is no job actually, so sorry. And Horacio just took it upon himself. He says, I'm going to go anyway. I'll sweep the floors. I don't care. I want to work at Lamborghini. And that's what happened. He turned up at the factory. So didn't we get the letter we sent? He says, no, I did, but I wanted to come anyway. So that's in the back history. And he started in the design studio. You see him here with Countach and things. And one bit of history I think is quite, he's known for the Countach anniversary, but actually his best project at Lamborghini was this Evo version. This was all done in carbon fibre, and he built this, and this is what sort of turned him on to carbon fibre, seeing it was the future of supercars, did it without an autoclave, etc. But Lamborghini rejected it. They said it saved a huge amount of weight. They were worried about how it crashed, and they actually crashed the one prototype. And it did all right, but it was wrecked. And that was the trigger for Horacio to say, right, I'm out of Lamborghini, I'm going to set up a company to develop carbon fibre. He did the anniversary, and the story I have for that was no one in the design studio at Lamborghini really wanted to do the anniversary. He was given it to do, and he didn't want to do it. It was all for safety regulations was the reasons why it had to have some improvements. The bumpers had to be beyond the bodywork and that sort of thing. And that's what the anniversary is all about. Anyway, he's now come over here. He's set up in carbon fibre, and unfortunately, there isn't a very early Zonda here. There's chassis number 20, a Zonda S, is the earliest Zonda we can see today. There is chassis number 1, that's somewhere else. But this is chassis number 20. My car was chassis number 21, so very close to this one. So this is a Zonda S, 7.3 litre. And apparently this one's been in a film, I don't know, a French movie, and they brought it back, and it belongs to the factory now. This has the early wheels on it as well. They're all bespoke, so this one's got colour, body colour, spokes, etc. Sometimes they were just done plain, sometimes grey, etc. But that's the smaller wheels and these taller tyres that initially came on the Zonda S, and that meant you actually got smaller brakes as well. Horacio very kindly upgraded my Zonda S to a bigger wheel so you could get bigger brakes on it. But this is a very early car, chassis number 20. Zonda F followed. This is a Club Sport version because it's actually got the knock-on wheels you'll see in a moment, but Zonda F improved dramatically the performance and the sound. The sound, when we first heard the Zonda F, couldn't believe it. I was actually at the factory with some owners, and there was this big dinner before. We used to call it the Pagani gatherings. We used to get together and go out on a little tour. And there was this evening meal, and then Horacio said, come outside. And just on the industrial estate here, Loris Biocchi rocked up in the first Zonda F. and howled up and down this side street. I've got a little video clip of it. I'm going to insert it now if I've still got it. I'll have to video it, but it's a very early clip, so apologies for the quality of it, but it'll just give you a sense of that sound. Now this is a very special car to me. This is a Zonda Cinque Roadster, and I drove a version of this. A customer very kindly lent me his car to drive, and I was completely smitten. This to me is peak Zonda. Unfortunately, a lot of other people think it's peak Zonda as well. I loved the design. I loved inside. You had this black finished rather than all the sort of shiny aluminium. This was anodized black, and it was the first car I drove with this snorkel, and I drove the Roadster version like this. That was it. They produced 5 of these, 5 in coupe form, 5 in Roadster form. This is actually Horacio's car, and this is the most wanted Zonda version of them all. He's turned down offers of 19 million euros for this car. That's how valuable Zondas have got. It's the first Zonda that actually cost €1 million new, but yes, everybody wants Zonda Cinque Roadster. This is quite interesting. This is just stuff at the factory. There's a very early car, so the flat nose car there, that was the first car he showed at Geneva. It quickly changed to the sort of Zonda S look with a little point on it rather than this flat nose. Really rare. There's only one now like that in private hands. Swiss lady has it, a yellow one. And your car, if you have a Zonda, you have this record of it at the factory. They keep this record. So that's chassis number 51 Zonda, and that's everything that happens to that car. It's like you're borrowing a Pagani Zonda from the factory, and Horacio keeps a record of everything. Come down here. Oh, we just walked past. This is a very special Zonda Barchetta. So our Evo Barchetta. This is a celebration of the ultimate version, if you like, of a Zonda, done for Horacio for a special birthday, and flared in wheels, as you can see here. Cut down screen, not for road use, just ultimate crazy track Pagani Zonda for you. And this is a similar one. This is the Euro. This is the Imola version that is an extreme version. We were just saying this is what customers demand. They shape Pagani. It's a bespoke car company, so you can create anything you want. And quite a lot of customers like this more extreme look. It's not always to Horacio's taste, but customers are always right, and that's what brings us to these sort of creations. Just behind you are the engines. That's a Euro engine, original engine, a smaller single cam V12 engine, much more compact than the Zonda engine here, that was normally aspirated. Obviously that's twin turbo. This is normally aspirated, and this is the Zonda F intake, beautifully done in this formed aluminium. Unbelievable workmanship, and the exhaust. And when I first heard and saw all this, I was desperate for it for my Pagani Zonda that was an S, and it just had normal Mercedes intake and exhaust, cast iron exhaust no less, manifolds. And Horacio said, I do a special deal to for the intake manifold and the exhaust, and we're talking about 2005-6. And it was £110,000, and I had to say, I'm really sorry, Horacio, I can't do it. So anyway, around here, this is just how they form the carbon fibre. I have to rattle on because we want to get in the factory while cars are still in production. Always the scale models. Love scale models. It's just normal practice when you're developing the shape of a car. And obviously this was so advanced, where with these active aero flaps, front and rear, these 4 flaps, and how he made it work. A very early photograph of Horacio. This was a Geneva 99 shot, and we went to the factory's Evo. I stumbled across the Pagani stand at the Geneva Motor Show, 1999, and said this car is just amazing. And we went over as Evo and did a photo shoot on this car in this courtyard. And I remember Dickie Meaden coming back saying, this car is just extraordinary. So that was the sort of start, very early days. So this was car number one, and you can see that has the flat nose, has that little intake on the back, that C12 intake, and the solid rear spoiler as well, rather than in two parts. Yeah, it went solid on there, but the original Zonda had a, so after that's the very original one, then the S went to this version. And I remember Horacio having to change it for the F to a single piece like that, because he realised it wasn't very nearly as efficient as they wanted. It's why they added these clips, because the mirrors interfered with the airflow directly hitting this. And that is why on the Zonda F, the wing mirrors came out and sat on the wing to clean up the airflow around the cabin, and then the rear spoiler could do the work it was meant to do. Quickly come up here. Apparently this is wire number one. I don't remember it in this colour. Apparently the one I drove very early doors was chassis number 4, but in this famous colour that became a signature colour, there was a Pagani collector in New York, Benny Carrozza, and he chose this colour and had his Zondas parking it. Horacio really liked it, and it became a sort of, several other customers ordered their Paganis in this colour, so it's almost signature car. Right, that was a whistle-stop tour of the museum, and I'm cracking on because it's 4:05, and through there is the production line. They very kindly invited me to go and have a look at some cars in production with everyone there. They unfortunately stop at 4:30, so we're going there now. Now, I've just come upstairs because this is actually where the whole process of making a Pagani starts. Also, I love all the covers. So anytime a Pagani appears on the cover, it appears on this wall here, and there's several Evos issues I noticed in there. Fortunately, they've now just left. I was in here earlier. This is where it all starts in here. This is the cutting room, and they cut the carbon fibre. And then it goes into this, the clean room. This is where it all starts, and this is where all the components are put together, all the layers of carbon fibre. When you think it's just simple layering up carbon fibre and make it 3 layers fit, 4 layers fit, and with the sort of strength you want from it. I can't get over, whenever I see the process, how many different sorts of carbon fibre weave there are, how many layers they use to create the strength. And then they're trying to keep the minimal amount in there, so they use it very cleverly, all computer stuff. But it's handmade at this stage. And I recognise a lady when I first visited Pagani, and she's still here layering up carbon fibre. Lord knows how many cars she's actually created from hand. But this is the initial stage, and once all the components are layered up and made, it's then they sort of seal it in this giant bag, and it's a vacuum sealer, and then it goes downstairs to where the autoclaves are. Now this is where the autoclaves are, and I just love the story behind this one, because this autoclave here is the one that Horacio Pagani bought in the 80s when he realised Lamborghini were not going to invest in an autoclave. Their argument was, well, Ferrari doesn't use carbon fibre, so why should we? He left Lamborghini, went to the bank, took out a bank loan and bought this very autoclave in the mid-80s, and then started doing carbon fibre work for Lamborghini, for Ducati, all sorts of people, and the smaller components. They've since, when I first saw this used to be red at the other factory, and they've sort of repainted. It's had a refresh, but it's still in use today, next door to these monster autoclaves you see here. Because when they actually started producing the Zonda, you obviously, to get the tub in, that wasn't quite big enough. These things have to heat up to 140 degrees and 6 bar pressure to bake, to cook, whatever you like to call it, the carbon fibre, and they sit in there overnight and you open them up. It's just lovely that they're sort of colour coordinated, and I wouldn't expect anything less from Horacio. But Pagani composite division, monster great autoclaves, huge investment in those, but that is at the heart of Pagani and always has been. So here are the components as they come out. We just swing around here, the parts all come out, and then in these rooms is basically where they're all finished and filed and made ready for production. So you can see some of the components here, really nice. Oh, that's a shame. When I came down here before, there was the long-tail Pagani, that was sat here. Original parts supply, that's a hangover from the other factory as well. I can remember that Zonda R photograph on the wall in the other place where all the parts were as well. So anyway, there you go. What I'm going to do now is take you in to the actual factory where the cars are fully assembled and all these parts get made into the car itself. So here is the main assembly hall, and I'm so Horacio Pagani to have street lights and a sort of clock up there and just the brickwork, and it's so Pagani. But this is where the final assembly of the cars happens. When you go up the stairs, you actually see the sort of engine and subframe all being bolted together. And this is off the Huayra R. This is actually a completely different engine to a regular Huayra, direct injection, different heads completely with the gearbox. This is the final hurrah, if you like, of the Huayra, and it's just mechanical art. I just love seeing this components. We've got other things to be doing. We want to see the other cars here, but it's just the sheer quality of everything when you come to Pagani. I don't know if I can show you, but these have tiny little detail. Even that titanium bolt has Pagani written on it there. I've no idea if that will focus on that or not, but that is, when you get into Pagani, when you own it, is the depth of engineering, how deep it goes, and then you see that stripped down as component form. It's just as beautiful as when it's fully assembled. Extract gearbox here, dressed for Pagani, unique gearbox and transverse gearbox to try and pack the weight as close as they can to the centre of the car. I was talking about those files for every single car made by Pagani. There are all the files kept there. I think that's all the Huayras in there, you can see in that office there. But I just want to show you the sort of componentry that goes into these cars and how they make it, basically, the machine everything from solid aluminium. There's a Huayra BC being machined out of a solid block of aluminium there. This glorious machining for the gear change. I think that's a Huayra, just gear stick from that. And the dials, all the rest of it, sort of watchmakers they go to do the dials. And down this side are some very special cars. So this is the Huayra. When I came to the factory to do the reveal world exclusive story on this car with Horacio at the other factory, this was the one. And I also went out with Horacio in his car unreported beforehand because he actually had it. We had one of these Pagani, the clock. There we are, it strikes on the hour, 5 o'clock. Apparently, Horacio wanted to make that a bell, but he wasn't allowed to put a bell in there, and it's actually a sound like a bell. But anyway, as I was saying, this car I actually went in and drove in Sardinia, couldn't talk about it, went out with Horacio, he took me out in it, and it was a very special experience. And I remember just the engineering, seeing, it's mesmerising when I first got in it, the aero on it with those sort of, these flaps just doing strange things as you drove along, turned into corners and they moved. This is one of, obviously, a car which is a prototype just to get the shape right, but I wanted to show you this one. This is Pagani Zonda #1. And this is the original Zonda, the one that was at Geneva when I went to the show in 1999. Recognisable as a super early Zonda because you can see it doesn't have that face. They quickly changed the nose to have a more of a V point here. But this is it. This is that one with Horacio, that overhead shot with the Renault Pagani race car he did with the C12 emblem there. Beautifully installed, the smaller wheels on it as well, the single wing across the back here, this signature which has stood the test of time. So straight Zonda, no Zonda S, and the first time we saw the four exhausts together, and that became the signature of Pagani. Now there's so many cars I could show you. Look, there's a whole assembly line there. But the car I really want to show you is this one. This is Pagani's new car, the third car in the production line after Huayra, Utopia I call it. And this is the point where I'm going to get Christopher Pagani, Horacio's son, to join me and tell me all about the details of their new car. Christopher, thanks ever so much for the time showing me around this car. I cannot wait. And I haven't seen anything about this car, purposely not read much about it because I want to learn it all here. You've got a model here, engine, and a huge wheel.
You see some of the most important elements of Utopia. You see the engine, the Pagani V12, which is an evolution of the engine that you find in the Roadster BC. You see, of course, the X-Track gearbox, and you see the exhaust pipes, which are again with the same design of what you've seen on the Zonda, the Huayra. So we always have this similar design throughout the different models. Again, the engine is built by AMG, but thanks to this relationship, after over 30 years of working together, they approved us to have our big Pagani logo on it. You have the AMG logo, and you have the name of the mechanic that has worked on this specific engine. So it's a very beautiful masterpiece.
It was an amazing partnership, and it is an amazing partnership. Because I remember in Zonda days, it was a differentiator because you had huge confidence. Oh, it's an AMG engine. And the service intervals were nuts on a Zonda. But I know, the relationship has grown, and this is unique to you now, isn't it? This engine.
This is a dedicated engine that they built for us. We have over 67 people at AMG working on Pagani projects. So it's the relationship went over and over again, and we're very proud of working together with them. They have a history of over 130 years of building what is incredible today.
They can make engines.
Yeah.
Raw power is...
It's 864 horsepower. So again, we like to keep it a very extreme hypercar, but we don't normally go crazy with over 1,000 horsepower. V12 twin turbo, and we like to keep it lightweight for the overall experience of the drivability of the vehicle.
I like the way you think 840, 850 horsepower is a sensible amount. It's not over the top. I would suggest that's an awful lot of power, but there we are. And is it a different gearbox to the Huayra, or?
It is also an evolution of what it's been carried over the last Huayras. So is always using X-Track as a supplier, and is the new thing about Utopia is that you can get also a manual gearbox, which is very nostalgic. This is what people has been asking for.
Is it? I just wonder if this was customer driven.
We've had a lot of requests because you've lived the Zonda era. The Huayra was an approach to a sequential, different gearbox. So the Utopia was, let's take it back. Let's bring it back. And there was a lot of requests from our clients to get there.
But because the crazy thing is, this car in coupe form, you know where the 99 you're going to build is going to go, isn't it? Is it sold out?
It's sold out. Coupe. It's been sold out for over a year.
Every year.
Yeah.
Roughly how many are manual, and roughly, do you know?
As of right now, the majority are manual. So I would say over 60%.
Wow. So
we give the clients the opportunity to give a final decision later on through the process of the configuration.
So they're probably the later orders, they'll probably even be able to drive it before their car.
Yes, we invite clients to come over and test it.
Yeah. Now, we're going to run down these components. We'll start off with this one, because this is a very different design of wheel than Pagani's.
The first thing that comes to your mind is definitely the size.
Yeah.
So 22 inches is a huge step when it comes to what we're doing here at Pagani. So we've requested Pirelli to create something that was never built. So at 22 inches for a hypercar, which is what you see here today. And also the fact that you have this carbon fiber blade where it helps to extract the heat of the calipers, and also it has an aerodynamic function. So it is really special.
That is right. So that is the wheel design going forward. That is because it must be, you can't do different designs if you're doing this, isn't it?
We have 2 different wheels for the Utopia. This is our option wheel, which has this carbon fiber blade. The other one, you'll see it on something else I'll show you later.
Right, because I understand, obviously that is a model, isn't it? That one, the doors don't open and things like that.
No, it's the first design that we wanted to get to see the proportion of the car.
Brilliant.
So later on, we've done multiple small ones, but this was the first 1/1 scale model of Utopia.
So, and in another building, you've got an actual car, haven't you? And we're going to see that in a moment. Excellent. I can't believe being in the old workshop again. I haven't been here. This was the very spot when I first saw the wire and did that walk around in here. And now there's a new Pagani to see. I know we're not probably going to look at this one, but this is one of your test ones, isn't it?
That's correct. We have more than 8 different prototypes for Utopia. So cars that are used from Mercedes-Benz AMG, cars that are dedicated to Bosch for developments, and cars that we use for testing here, and they're also traveling around different places with different temperature, you know, very cold, very hot, a lot of testing.
But this, well, I can see it's on winter tires, this one as well.
And this also has the different design in the wheel too.
It's surprising. I can see another one we're going to look round there. But even just subtle things at the front with the carbon fibre vents here and the bronze effect here looks different already, doesn't it? The design. This very personalisable, this car, from what I can see, which is typical Pagani.
You enter in a place where you can definitely get very inspired by creating your own Utopia. It is one of our possibilities that you really can go crazy if you want.
You want, and the leather straps remain as ever. That wasn't where I was expecting to see it, but that actually secures the front clamp.
That's correct. You have it. You have one there. You have one in the rear. So we try to keep consistency in what are the main elements in the different Paganis. So the 4 pipes, the leather straps,
and an interesting door mechanism. Yeah, that is clever. So the roof, you're not opening into the roof anymore. And doing this.
If we think about what's been done before, you have the Zonda, which was as let's call it a standard door, and then you get into the Huayra with the gull-wing doors. So we thought with Utopia we have to create something different again. So we want to discover new ways of doing things, and this was one of the goals, to create a door like this. And it's very complicated door, but it's a beautiful design.
It is. It's got a lovely mechanism and a very distinctive wing mirror I can see on here as well. Wow. And venting of the rear wheel. You don't really want me to look at this car because this is the dirty one, isn't it? That's been
this is the car that it is our office. So this is where you really get the sense of working day and night to get the mileage that we need or we prefer to have.
You do a lot of miles, don't they?
We do a lot of testing.
Unreal. This is the car that you showed in Milan. This is your launch car, and this is the manual version as well, isn't it? When that was.
You are correct.
Yeah.
This is the car that was presented on the 12th of September in Milan at the theater. The car came out of nowhere. It was coming out from a very hidden place, and I'm very happy that you get the chance to see it.
Well, I've been dying to see it. We were unfortunately sort of doing harvest and things on the farm, and I just couldn't actually come over on the date. I can't get over how, again, this looks one's different because you haven't got the carbon cockpit on this example.
Normally on cars that we use for the launch, we paint the whole body. So you can see the lines, you can see the shape, you can understand how the different lines of the car, they go from the front to the rear. So that was the idea.
That's interesting, because they look two different cars. The way you finish carbon fibre, etc., I would always have the carbon fibre on show. Not the whole, I often think you don't need the whole car shown in carbon fibre, show it off, but I can never get over, you line up the weave and there's so much detailing, but it does look so different, all painted compared to that car. Can this be in carbon as well then?
Yes, yes.
As well, yeah.
Actually, the day when we've been launching the car in Milan, we had one fully painted and one fully carbon exposed.
Right.
That was also to show how we keep working very hard on all the carbon fiber technology and how to work on that.
And excuse my ignorance, but is this active aero again here?
Yes. So it's again always an evolution. When it comes to the active aerodynamics, this is the first time that the flaps are moving in two different directions.
Yes.
So it's not only going up, but it's going down.
Oh, is it? And does it do things under braking as well?
Yes.
Does all that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Both, they move different angles and different ways when you are accelerating, when you're braking, when you are on a very fast corner, because to get them to work on the downforce, you also have to have a good amount of speed and a good amount of traction.
And seeing the engine on show, so you'll always be able to see the engine on this car, I'm guessing.
Yeah. And actually, for the first time, you have a window inside your car that shows you the engine too. So you have a window that shows you the engine from the outside, but you also have something in the interior, like a little place where you can look in your back. Oh yeah. And you have the engine.
It's a second window below this one, isn't there?
From the interior.
Yeah. God, and how does this work? Oh. Wow. And the manual gearbox. Who thought that would come back? But there it is. That is an amazing mechanism, isn't it? 'Cause it is so on show. This is... Do these fold as well? They can't do, can they? They're electronic and do things.
In this case, they are electronic, yes.
Are they?
So this you
have
a way. Yes, this they close, and actually the shape that you see here, it's also the same shape that you have here. So you're keeping it's a design element, but it has a function.
Yeah.
You know, Horacio is very keen on getting design elements to also have a function. So that's that was a goal for the mirror too.
Nice. And you just see the aero shooting down here to make that wing work correctly, haven't you? You've got a big channel here. Porous design, as I think designers like to talk about it, big holes and that the air can rush past.
There has been a lot of work done on internal airflow. Yeah. So not just what you see outside, but how to manage the air that goes inside the car and creates that flow that helps the car to behave the way you want. And also everything that comes behind the car, underneath. There's a huge amount of work in the wind tunnel, and actually we work with Dallara and the Dallara factory thanks to their wind tunnel, but also their engineering team to understand how a car that doesn't have a lot of exposed flaps and ailerons and external parts that can behave like a race car, like a car that has all those elements exposed. So it was a very hard to do a job like that.
I'm also surprised, these are sort of almost floating, aren't they? There's no grille. They must look pretty special on. That
is correct. Yeah. It's mounted on the rear bonnet, and when you open it, because you know Paganis, they still open up. Yeah. You need to see everything. They look like they kiss themselves.
Because there isn't anything. There are big air intakes here. I suppose there is here, isn't there? Hidden away down below here, isn't there?
You're working a lot on the air that goes underneath the car in the back. Because you're also channeling the air to create what is the effect that you need on a car that need to have the performance you want. I mean, it looks simple, it looks like a clean design, but the performance are higher than the Roadster BC, which is a car that has a crazy amount of downforce and all small elements.
And you've managed to keep the weight down. I can't believe the weight you managed to do with fluids, so it's going to be...
It's 1,340 kilos.
So with 800 and something horsepower. Wow.
The weight reduction is always a very important element for us.
I recognise that plate. Yes.
HP Zonda.
Yeah, I know. That's he's had that a while, hasn't he? As a
Forever.
Prover plate.
Forever.
Yeah. So this isn't a customer car. This is a development car.
This is a prototype. Yeah. This is one of the development car.
Well, so that's hence all the wiring in there and stuff.
And this has the sequential gearbox. So this has the other application.
But it looks very similar, apart from obviously it's got extra screening because of it's a development car, but and all exposed carbon at the inside the clamshell as well. Yeah, well, a very special car. Absolutely lovely to go and see it up close, Christopher. Thank you so much for the opportunity, and to be back at the workshop, back at Pagani, is an absolute pleasure. So thank you for the invite. Really kind.
Thank you for staying with us.
No problem. So, there you go. Very special Harry's Garage. I hope you enjoyed this part 3 of the Emira tour and this visit to Pagani and to see what's happening at the factory and their new car, the Utopia. If you have enjoyed this video, well, please keep watching, keep subscribing. More videos coming along very soon.